Welcome back to the Fearless Females Voice podcast. Today I am joined by Anita Kaur Thind, the owner of the Pretty Parcel Company. Anita and I go way back where we were primary school buddies. We haven't caught up in many years, but she is still the same strong-minded, passionate and driven girl I knew from school. On this podcast, Anita talks about her business, The Pretty Parcel. She shares her experiences on running her business and how it has impacted her life. Being an entrepreneur can have its highs and lows, and Anita openly talks about what she has dealt with and how she overcame it. She gives us some insight into how she started her company, her daily routine, and tips and advice for other females looking to start their own company, as well as a tip on how to build up your confidence. This is a really interesting story, so without further ado, let's get stuck in. What does being a fearless female mean to you?
Okay, so I think that's quite a question I've never been asked before. So I think a fearless female to me is somebody who, I think the word rebel screams out a little bit. So I feel like it's somebody who doesn't conform to the norm. And I think the norm being what people think is the norm. So I would say, your typical stuff of you have to get married, or you have to have a baby, or you have to have like an order in life. So to me, it's literally somebody who goes against all of that and goes, do you know what? No, actually, I'm going to have my own identification of what a female should be. That definition is going to reside with me. No one's going to tell me how to be who I am. So yeah, I think it's someone who would go against, I'm going to say, the rules.
Okay.
But I don't believe in the rules. So yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, I love that definition. And I guess we'll touch a bit more about this later on as to how you become a fearless female. So we can use that as your definition as an example. So then tell us a bit about yourself.
So, right, where can I start? So I am 30 years old. I turned 30 this year, in the start of the year. So luckily it wasn't impacted by COVID. I am a full-time worker, so I work as a project manager now, which was only recently. But
congratulations!
Thanking you
on your new role.
So project manager. But prior to that, I would say I was mainly like a project coordinator. So I work for a private medical company in Cambridge Science Park. So I'm married. I'm born and bred Leicester girl, as you know.
Whoop, whoop.
And I got married in I really have to think about this, don't I? 2017. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me, really.
Okay, so you said you work as a full-time project manager, but I know also that you have a bit of a side hustle that you're doing as well.
I do.
So do you want to go a bit into that?
Yeah. So I run, I'm going to use the word little because I don't ever see it as big. I don't think I ever will see it as big. So I run a little side hustle called the Pretty Parcel. So the Pretty Parcel is basically my little escape. It's not something that I've ever intended to do full time, but it takes a lot of my time there than I ever intended. But it's basically a small platform on Instagram that's there for people to buy products. Primarily, I would say, for various different occasions, and it's mainly about wooden engraved items. But as time's gone on, I've started to introduce quite a few products. So I've been running the Pretty Parcel for over, I think it was 3 years this summer. So I've been doing it for over 3 years, and it's literally my little baby. Literally, yeah. It's attached to me. Like a girl has a handbag, I have the Pretty Parcel.
I love it. So you started off by saying that it's little and it's a platform that you don't see being bigger than, I guess, as is now. So can I just ask, why is that?
So I think, so when I first started off the Pretty Parcel, I always envisioned a little bit about what it would be going forward. But then as I continue with the Pretty Parcel, I realized that the direction that I'm taking things just changes. It changes with time. It changes with people's demands. It changes with my interest. And I never ever thought to myself that I was going to have probably half the products that I've got now. So I envisioned it to be little at the very beginning. And I think my version of big I don't think I have a definition of big. So somebody else who's probably watching the Pretty Parcel, and a lot of my regular clients see this, they're like, you've literally increased like your product line, you're smashing it. And they say all of that to me, but I I don't perceive it that way. I literally just see it as the Pretty Parcel has just got an additional product. I see it as the Pretty Parcel's just had another year come by. I don't see it getting bigger, despite, I would say, the number of followers, despite despite even order sales, despite all of that. I can't see it as a big thing. I think it's because I know myself that if I start to see it as something really big and that I'm in demand, I'm actually fearful of becoming arrogant, and I don't want to do that.
Interesting. I completely understand. It's almost like you're striving, you're keeping going, and that's what growth is all about. It's a continuous process. So you're never gonna kind of say this is perfect, this is big. It's almost that growth, and you're continuing on that journey to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I completely get that. So then how long do you spend on this side hustle compared to your full-time job?
So most recently, so I think people will be very shocked at this actually. I come across like I'm on it 24/7. But the reality is that I'm not. So I've got my set days. I try and do my admin days on a Wednesday evening and a Saturday in between my 2 coaching clients. So I would say on average during the week, I probably spend, as little as probably about 4 or 5 hours a week, if that.
That's it.
Yeah, honestly. And I think people are really shocked because I think people see it as something that you have to be on it 24/7. And it's not that case. You just have to be smart about what you do and manage your time. And a lot of the time people end up spending 5-6 days in the evening every week trying to build on it because they feel guilty or they feel like it's not going to grow if they don't put that time into it. But the reality is that if I used to, don't get me wrong, when I first started, I used to be like, oh my God, I've got to power through, every evening I want to sit there, I want to draw new designs. I feel like I've got to create content. I feel like I've got to engage. And then over time, I was like, that's actually not healthy for my lifestyle because I'm working full time as well. And I think it was more so last year that I was like, no, I've got to be a bit more strict in how I do this. So I decided to reduce all of that time to about 2 days and only focus on what is really needed. And I'm not saying that's the best way of doing it, but for me, it works that way. I think working 5 days a week on the Pretty Parcel would be, oh my God, that'd be a nightmare. My brain is fried during the day. Forget the evening.
That's a really good balance that you have, because even when I started Fearless Female, so it's only been 5 weeks actually, but when I started and even now, I guess it's such a big passion of mine, and I'm really loving the whole empowerment of females that I'm on it. I'm on it, working on it every day to be like, okay, what new content can I put out? Who can I get on the podcast? And it's something which I really enjoy. Yeah. So for you to do it 4 or 5 hours, I guess it's your enjoyment and your, what did you call it? Like a little retreat away from your work.
100%. Yeah. And it's really common, Chani. Like, I think when people first start something off, they are very much like, you're excited. It's almost like having excitement in a big toy store going, oh my God, what shall I buy? What do I want to get today? You get very excited, and I think it's good because I think when you've got a peak of motivation, you might as well put yourself through it and you're going to get a lot done when you first start off something new. But the reality is that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because in this current time for you, it works for what it is. But in the future, once you get married and then you're going to have other commitments, it's not sustainable. So I think it's good when people start off to throw themselves in. I did exactly the same, but you should never think to yourself or feel guilty for spending less time, because spending less time on something doesn't mean that you're going to fail. And I think sometimes that's what people end up doing is they start to think, I'm sitting here watching TV, I feel really guilty, maybe I should be working on something. But the reality is like you don't have to. So I think people will be very shocked because I kid you not, I was on it all the time when I first started, and now Wednesdays and Saturdays are my key things.
Wow. And it works for you because it's created this kind of hype around your brand. Yeah. It's got the success going. People can see you on your social media. So it works really well.
Yeah.
I would say the way of unlocking that time is by giving up a day job, right? So if you then had all those hours, and is that something that you would look at in the future?
Never.
Interesting. Okay.
I get asked this quite a lot, and I've been asked this over the last few years, that would you want to do the Pretty Parcel full time? I would never do it full time. I get asked this by a couple of the coaching clients and what my opinion is about having a side hustle, building it into something full time. Again, no right or wrong, but my personal opinion is I have chosen not to do it full time because I would want to have a sustainable guaranteed income from my actual full-time job. But also the second instance is I personally feel that if I started to do the Pretty Parcel full time, it would end up being about paying bills. It would end up being about a target. You know, clients would be almost like a price tag for me. I don't know what it's like for anybody else, but I know the way that my brain would navigate, and I would almost feel quite stressed. I'd be like, well, I need to make sure I make X amount to cover like my mortgage, my bills, and then I want to make X amount for myself, and then I want to have X amount just to put to the side. It would become something that I just don't want it to be. But saying that, I have considered going part-time because I feel like I want to give the Pretty Parcel a little bit more time that it deserves. And that's mainly for my followers, not just people who order from me, because I get different types of clients, those who order from me, but those who actually just engage with me in the DMs, which is so nice because I get the most nicest of messages. So I've considered going part-time, but I'm not quite there yet. I mean, my career is just peaking at the minute with currently being promoted. So I feel like it's just not the right time. So yeah, not 100% sure.
And that's fair. Like, as you said, there is no right or wrong, but that's always a battle with entrepreneurs as to, right, you've got your day job, you've been working this for the last X amount of years, you're building your career, and yet you have a passion for doing something else on the side. And there always is that time for the crossroads to say, okay, well, what do I do? Do I give this up? Do I go part-time and go full-time with my business? Or do I just crack on with my job and do this 4 to 5 hours a week as you're doing, right? And there is no right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. And I completely understand that security piece around the set income that you're getting every month, every week, whatever it is, the security, you can pay your mortgage, you can have your lifestyle.
Exactly, yeah.
And I completely get that.
I don't think it's an easy decision to make as well. And maybe I'm a little bit, skeptical about the whole thing, but I can't vision myself doing it full time. And also between me and you, but everybody's going to hear this.
Between everyone.
Exactly, between all of us. I actually, when I got married, I didn't have a job for 6 months. And my husband basically said to me that, you're going to be like changing your location, changing your house. I was living with my in-laws at the time. And he was like, you know what, you're literally going to be, this is all going to be very new to you. So you might as well adapt to the new situation and don't have a new job where you're going to have to adapt to that as well. Just relax. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this.
Just be on holiday for a little while. Yeah, it's fine.
Why not? So for 6 months, I didn't work. But during that time, I spent a lot of don't get me wrong. The first few months was me just having a lie-in, enjoying the new wife life. But then as time went on, I was like, no, I've got all this time on my hands and I want to push the Pretty Parcel. And it was very new then. It was very early stages. So I actually used to go with my husband in the end, because he works in Milton Keynes. We used to. And I used to go with him first thing in the morning. And I kid you not, Chandy, I spent 8 hours in Starbucks every day, 5 days a week for at least 3-4 months.
Oh, wow.
So I did that because I knew that I wasn't working, but I would have to, I want to work for the Pretty Parcel and make it bigger than what it actually is. I don't want to be stuck at home all day for 5 days of the week. I thought maybe if I actually have a bit of a routine and physically go somewhere, that would make me sit down and work through things. So I did that. And I think that gave me a glimpse to a certain extent of doing it full time. And I feel like it would never end. I don't think I would ever stop. I think I would just keep wanting to do more. Whereas my job now and having Pretty Parcel, I get to pick what I want to spend more time on. Obviously, I've got to do my hours at work, that's for sure. But I get to pick if I want to do the Pretty Parcel in the weekend or not. So
do you still have that vibe? So you said that if you were doing it full time, you'd want to do it more. You'd feel like you're constantly wanting, let's say, new products or more clients, more sales, whatever it is. But do you have that now, working on it just for 4 to 5 hours a week, let's say?
Yeah, I do. I'd say I definitely have it now, but it's a bit more controlled because I know that I can't spend X amount of time on doing stuff. So it actually has worked in my favor. I think anyone who's got a creative mindset will probably agree with me, is that you just want to continue to create. That's the reality. Whether it's an actual product or a service, you just want to keep going. And I love the fact that you can explore your creativity and see what you're capable of. And I think I think for me, the reality is that if I ended up right now saying to you, honestly, do I have my brain buzzing with new ideas? Of course I do. But then I know that today I'm spending time with you. I'm spending time with my husband after this. I'm going to have a relaxing evening. And then I've got my day job tomorrow. That's for 5 days. So I'm really not going to have time to execute all of these ideas in my brain. So I still have them, but they're parked on the side for when the timing is right. Otherwise, I think it would be more detrimental, because I'll be coming out with God knows what every week. Every week there'll be something new. And I don't think that's a good, for me, for Pretty Parcel, I just don't think that's where I want to be. I don't want to be bringing out something new every week. No
That's
way.
fair. And as you described, that's the true definition of an entrepreneur. Someone who's constantly buzzing with ideas. You're sleeping, and then in the middle of the sleep, you're like, oh, I've got an idea. And you just jot it down on the side. And so it's nice to hear that you have that flair in you. It's just done in a controlled manner, which obviously works for you. And that's absolutely fine. And as you said, when the time is right, I'm sure people listening will be like, oh my God, we can't wait for her to have a whole selection of all these products, open a store on Oxford Circus, Oxford Street. And
No, it's true. Like, I think it's more in a controlled manner. And that's what I'm taking from it. I think if I was just left to my own will to just do whatever I want, gosh, I think this room that I'm sitting in would be in much more of a mess than it actually is. There will be loads of products out there. I probably would have had a shop right now. Believe it or not, I thought about so many things that I wanted. But I've just decided to take it a bit more slower, because I just want to see how life plans out for me a little bit before I start to make like additional improvements. And to be honest, the current situation with COVID, and I hate to bring that up in something like this, because I told myself I wouldn't. But I think with the current situation with COVID as well, had I have, made a decision a year ago to say that I'm going to go part-time, or I'm going to do this full-time, or I'm going to hire out, little studio, I would have been in such a bad place. So that's where I kind of like just thank my situation where I am right now. And that again just reinforced my decision of not doing this full-time and going, do you know what? I will do it on the side. Don't get me wrong, in the future I might decide to go part-time at work. But I don't heavily want to commit to it full-time. Definitely not.
Fair enough. So then tell us, how did this all start, the Pretty Parcel?
So, okay, this is quite interesting. I've always been asked this question on social media, and I've always given the same response, because that was the reality. I started because I had a wedding company on the side. I had somebody approach me with laser wedding invites, and she said to me, we actually had a meeting, and I'll go through that if I remember later on, but I basically, by chance, I ended up finding this supplier, and it then went into having a jeweler box, and that's it. It literally just kind of just got big from there. But what I haven't shared with people is probably the reality of why I started anything on the side before. Now, most people would probably look at me and think, okay, you know what, this lady, like, I mean, I've had it before, so it's not, I've not thought of this myself, but everyone is sort of going, Anita strives for the best. She keeps pushing, she keeps trying to improve certain areas. She's a go-getter, she's all of this. And I bet you most people probably look at me and think she plays by the books. I was a massive rebel, right? So when I was
a female.
Yeah, exactly. It's in my blood. So I'll give you something extra here that I've probably never really said before. Okay. So I'm really putting out a lot here right now. But when I was at school, and obviously me and you went to school together, but we were in different friend groups and we had mutual friends, but I was quite well behaved. We then obviously went to separate high schools, and the school that I was in, I was okay for about the first year, and then I just became a rebel. I was skiving, I was in detention, I was getting kicked out of my class, I was in isolation, very, very close to being suspended.
I didn't know that.
So a lot. I guarantee you, none of my followers actually know this. And my husband still, till this day, finds it very hard to believe when I tell him that I was that way. But I was a massive rebel during probably, I think, year 8 to my final year, and then even going into college. So I went to QE in Leicester, and I kid you not, I was only probably there for about a year. And I say I think it's because I genuinely have a bit of a memory block when it comes to certain things when I was younger. Okay. So I was very rebellious, but I always knew I wanted more. I didn't want just education. I was like, no. I don't want to be just educated. I don't want to be just an Indian girl that's got a career. I want to be more. I don't want to do a 9 to 5. I don't want to be somebody who is there to fit someone else's goal. I want to have my own stuff going on. So I always rebelled against everything. Even working, I used to work in the NHS, and my dad said this one thing that cracked me up. He said, you run around in the morning, and I think it was the same morning I was actually running around like a headless chicken. And he goes, you run around in the morning with your alarm on, rushing your breakfast or sometimes not having breakfast for someone else's goal. And he was like, have you ever thought that, take it easy, look after yourself, maybe get up half an hour earlier, relax, go to work. I know you need it for income, but ask yourself, what are you doing for yourself? It's good that it brings in the income and that's what you need. But what about your own goals? What about your own achievements? And that's what kind of spurred a little, I guess he kind of planted a little seed in me. And I was like, yeah, I want more than this, actually. I'm not going to just stop at a 9 to 5 because, we live in a country where it's all about work. I'll be honest with you, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a society where we feel we have to do 9 to 5. We feel like we have to go to work and be on time and do everything. And I just didn't want to. So I rebelled a little bit, I think, in my first job that I had, I'm not going to lie. And then that just stemmed a little fire inside of me of wanting a little bit more. And then naturally, I then started to do a charity event. So there was 2 charity events that I did to raise funds for Teenage Cancer Trust. And that was whilst I was working. I think that's when I had my transition from rebel to actually I want to give back now to the community. Like I should really think about my skill set and what I want in life. And I didn't know what I wanted to do additional. So I decided to be a volunteer for Teenage Cancer Trust. And I hosted a fashion show. So the King Power Stadium in Leicester.
Yeah.
We hired that out. We sold, I think it was like in the first show we did over 800 tickets.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
And we raised, I think altogether over 2 events, we raised just over 15 grand.
Wow.
And then I was like, right, I've come across different people. I've come across like different skill set. And I started to unpack kind of layers of myself and be like, okay, now I know who I am. I know that I like engaging with people. I know that I've got a level of negotiation skills. I know that I've got a level of confidence. So why not start something up for myself? Then I went down the route of the Wedding Hub. The Wedding Hub then became the Pretty Parcel. And that's where I am today.
So take us back to the Wedding Hub.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that business about? So it's quite clear it's Wedding Hub, but what was it? Was it a product? Was it a service?
So the Wedding Hub intended to be a service. So I started that just before the Pretty Parcel, and it was something that I was working 4 days a week, and shock horror, that wasn't enough for me. So I wanted to do something else. So I ended up doing trying to undertake a master's in solid tumours in Nottingham. So I was studying 1 day a week part time, and I was just like, yeah, still need more. Something's not satisfying me. So I ended up going, right, I've got all this skill set from the charity event. What else can I do? I got very close to like photographers, videographers, fashion designers based in Leicester. And I was like, okay, how about, I love weddings. I absolutely love organising events. I love weddings. Who doesn't? And I was like, how about I probably just start to do some wedding coordination or wedding planning for people around Leicester who might not necessarily have the funds for a lavish wedding, so they won't have funds for a lavish wedding planner. So, I'm just going to be your average go-to girl, go-to wedding planner. So I started that off, and I managed to get a hold of a lot of based in Leicester, a lot of local suppliers, gauge what their thoughts were in having just a handful of suppliers that I work with. And it was successful. It was really, really good. I had my first 2 years of the Wedding Hub were amazing. A bit too much, quite overwhelming for me because I didn't expect to have the clients that I did, but all of it worked very well. But I just knew inside of me that this, again, is not sustainable. It's not something that I can see myself doing, because in the future, and I hadn't met my my now husband then, but I was like, in the future, if I'm going to be like moving away or changing my career, like my actual 9 to 5 job, I can't see me jotting around the world and just going around the UK trying to plan weddings. And I thought, I'm not believe it or not, I'm not a life planner. So as much as I'm a good organized person and I plan my day-to-day activities weekly, life-wise, I don't really have thoughts of where I want to be by a certain age. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll just see how the wedding stuff goes. I'll see what comes out of it. And it was actually a groom that contacted me and said, I'd like to get my wife a gift. You seem quite creative. I've known you for about a year or so. Do you mind just like putting something up for the wedding week? I was like, that's pretty cute, you know? So I got a little box, put stuff in there, dropped it off to his house. He posted something on Instagram, and then orders started to come through the wedding hub. They were like, I need
for the gifts.
Yeah.
The gift. Okay.
So I was like, okay, this was a service and now it's ended up being a product. Yes. So I did that for a little bit and I was like, it needs separate identities. It can't be the same. Like the wedding hub was there to be the wedding hub, all things wedding related, with specific suppliers that are reliable for me, that I've got to know, and I know that their services are reliable. So this doesn't make any sense. So I started thinking about something on the side, and it just happened that I then had that supplier contact me. And she was basically someone who had found the Wedding Hub page on Facebook, contacted me and said, hi, I know that you're a wedding planner based in Leicester. I do laser wedding invites. Would you like to have a quick catch up? Now, between me and you, well, I'll say between me and you again, but between all of us, I'm a massive believer, my coaching clients know this, is sometimes you've just got to run with things, right? You might not necessarily know what you're going to get out of it. You don't know what's going to be, you've got no intentions, you've got no agendas, nothing, but just go with the flow. You don't know what's going to happen with it. So what you got to lose? So I met up with her. We went for a coffee. I had zero intentions in getting any laser wedding invites. I was like, that's not my thing. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? Let's meet her anyway and give her a chance. So she turned up with wedding invites and wooden boxes. Now imagine, Chani, if I never met this lady, I would never have had the jeweler box. That would never have happened, right? And that's why I always say to people that sometimes you don't know what's going to come out of meeting someone. So don't ever have such huge expectations, but at the same time, don't knock things back. Just go for it. See what's going to happen.
It's an opportunity, isn't it?
Definitely.
All of these are just opportunities, little things that come your way.
So I ended up meeting her, and then we've got the jeweler box because I was getting married, and I was just like, you know what? Let's just roll with it again. Let's just roll with it. So we did a sample box for my wedding, which ended up being the box for my wedding. Nice. And before you know it, Pretty Parcel was around.
Wow, what a story.
Bit of a whirlwind. I think where I look back at where I probably first started to where I am right now, yeah, it's definitely a whirlwind. And this just goes to show that your direction can change at any time. I intended to have the Wedding Hub open for a while, but even now I'm still at the stages where I was very lucky. Towards last year, I decided I was no longer going to do Wedding Hub, and obviously then Corona happened. Okay,
because I was just going to ask you, was it a transition into the Pretty Parcel, or was it a cut to say, right, Wedding Hub, you're done, Pretty Parcel, let's go?
It was a transition, and Hub is still out there, so if you on Instagram, it's still there. I think my last post was probably last summer or something, but it was still there. And the main reason why I had it there was because I still was umming and ahhing. Am I ready to close it? Am I not? Can I maybe have a different type of service? Can I maybe help the wedding suppliers start off? But then as time went on, I was like, you know what? I can't spread myself so thin. And I think, I think that's quite a good tip to give anybody, that if you can't give something 100%, it's not going to probably achieve what it needs to achieve. So I decided that, you know what, the Wedding Hub has to go because I want to concentrate 100% on the Pretty Parcel. And it's not something that I am massively passionate about at this current stage. So watch this space, but that page is going to be going soon.
It's going to say, I've got a wedding to plan, Anita. I need some help over here.
You're not ask me any questions.
Probably will. I'll have to drop you some messages about it. Need some help. So then the Pretty Parcel, it started off with your one product. Mm-hmm. And now from what we can see on Instagram or social media platforms, you've got multiple products. As you said, you've grown it. Mm-hmm. So how did you get these ideas? And I know you're full of ideas. So how did you come up with the concepts which you have now, some of which are not so wedding related?
So I kind of started off with where I was in my time. So I was getting married. So I thought about all of the products that I would want for my wedding. And I guess what's happened now naturally is that is what's starting to happen whenever I think of a product, is where I am in my current life. I don't think my mindset when it comes to creating a new product is going, okay, what do I need for myself? What do I want for myself? Because if I want it for myself, I'm going to be 100% confident when I push that product. So if I started to randomly today, started to bake some cakes, that would never work because I don't need it. I don't know how to bake. But if I'm launching a home range soon, and with the home range, it was, well, I've got, rooms in my house that I want to spruce up a little bit. What can I create with my sort of vision? What can I do? And I've got a few things coming out. And my idea of a new product is always based around my time. So, people might look at my page right now and go, I don't do a lot of baby stuff. I don't have a child, but I can guarantee you the day that I probably have a child will be the day that there will be loads more baby products coming out, because I can't resonate with moms at the minute. I can't resonate, with those sort of products. So I can't put my approach to things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of started off with the wedding stuff because I was getting married. I started off with some traveling stuff like the travel passports and the luggage tag, just because I love traveling. And then the next step now for me is going to be home. And then who knows what's going to happen in the future.
I think it's a good strategy. At least you can really give your heart into everything. And also the fact that you're creating this and you want it for yourself just goes to show that there will be a demand for it, because other people will be in that same position as you. For example, you were just talking about like the marriage stuff. Great. That's what I'm coming now into. And then the home, I'd love some of your homeware in here, some of your ideas and gifts. It'd be great. So everyone will be able to relate to each section of your life. So I think that's a really good strategy. It works
it's really
well.
Nice because I've had girls who actually purchased the Jura box from the Wedding Hub, because that's originally where it was, it was a bit of a weird transition between the Wedding Hub and then the birth of the Pretty Parcel. So there was a bit of a weird transition. But I've got amazing clients who started off from ordering a Jura box from Pretty Parcel when it was the Wedding Hub, that became the Pretty Parcel, to those girls now having their own homes, to having children. And it's crazy because those sort of girls have now, they're on a journey, and we're almost on the same level of a journey with each other because we all got married in the similar year or same time. So I can't honestly say, and who knows, I don't know what my ideas are going to be going forward, but I can't honestly say that I would ever create a product unless it was applicable for me.
And that makes sense, because you can then use it and you can just make sure that it's right for market as well. So It makes sense. Definitely. So where did you come up with the name, the Pretty Parcel?
Oh, that's a funny one. Oh my God. When you know what, whenever you think about naming anything, I don't know how do you know, I don't know where you came about with Fearless Females, but when it came to the Pretty Parcel, I was just like, what am I going to name this? Because, I know what I want to do now, but I don't know what I want to do in the future. So it needs to be a name that allows me to put anything else underneath it. So it can't be, I don't know, the Jura Box Company, because I want to be more than that. So I didn't know that, obviously, at the time when I did the Jura Box, I did consider calling it the Jura Box Company. And I was like, that makes little sense, because all I'm going to do is just sell Jura boxes. So I got thinking about some names, and I was not sure about what I wanted to do. So something that I say to my coaching girls whenever they're starting off anything new is, and it's something that I put into practice myself, which was just doing a spider diagram. And in the middle, I used to basically put the word of what I wanted to achieve. So in the middle, I put the word gifts. And I was like, okay, right, now I need to think, I don't like the word gift. So I need something else in there, something a bit more like nicely rolls off the tongue. So I went onto the thesaurus, searched for different words related to gifts, found the word parcel. I knew I wanted the word company. And I was like, well, what kind of parcels are they? So could it just be the parcel company? Nah, it's going to be more than that. And I was, hang on, all this stuff looks quite pretty. All of this stuff looks lovely. And I was like, the Pretty Parcel Company. And it literally just happened like that. Yeah.
And it was just a eureka moment. Like, this is it.
Yeah. And I'm somebody who, again, I don't ever second guess something. If it sits right with me there and then, I'm going with it. I'm not even going to ask anybody what your opinion is, because I was like, I know I'm confident with the name. I don't want you throwing any doubt in my head. I'm going with it. I'm rolling with it.
I love that. Just trust your gut and just go with it.
I love fearless females. I think.
I can't credit it. So basically, my fiance is also an entrepreneur. So he's been in business for 3.5 years, and one day we were in a coffee shop and we just came up with this concept because I love female empowerment. And actually, we were just bouncing ideas off each other, and he kind of helped me build this whole platform. So hats off to him, and thanks to him as well. But yeah, fearless females. I was like, this is it. Oh my god, this works so well. So
I love the name. As soon as it popped up, and I saw that it was you doing it as well, I was just like, oh, I just love it. The name Fearless Females is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it just works well for all the females who have been on the podcast and who are part of the group as well. So nice. Yeah, it's nice. It's good. So you've been in business for quite some time then. Every business has ups and downs, highs and lows. Mm-hmm. So can you share with us some of those highs and lows?
Yeah, where should we start? Shall I do highs or let's start with lows, because then we can end on a high, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say lows, thankfully, not that many. Okay. But if I could break them into, let me try and break them into different segments. So one would be a low is sacrificing family time to actually try and do what you've got to do. And you may not realize how much time you sacrifice until the penny drops, or until somebody else externally is like, no, you need to spend more time with me. So I would say that was a low, but not a massive low. I just had, I'm very grateful for my husband because he's so openly honest with me. And he would actually say, do you know what, I think you're spending too much time on the Pretty Parcel. You know, where you are now is not where you were when you first started. Your situation has changed. And I was like, you know what? And he's a massive supporter of the Pretty Parcel. And he was like, you know, just have a think about those things. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Because I did go through a phase where I was spending a lot of time, you know, running around doing wedding coordination, doing the Pretty Parcel, not spending time with my family, not spending time with my in-laws. It was just too much. So I'd say I burnt out. You know, there was an element of burning out. So that was definitely a low. And I had to ask myself, is this something that I want to carry on, or is this something that I should actually just cut ties with and just do the 9 to 5? But obviously, little Anita in there was like, no, you're not going to do that.
That rebel.
No, you're not doing that, Anita. You're just going to carry on. So that was one low. I'd say another low, which is really sad, is you always will get on social media now, and I don't want to put people off from starting anything new, but you do get some form or another of trolls or cyberbullying or
haters,
something, you know. It's horrible. And I've been very grateful. I haven't really had probably as much as I guess what I thought I would have had, because, you know, you're exposing yourself to all of these strangers. So it's an open platform. Anybody can message you anything horrible at any time of the day. So I've not had too much, but I have had it on, I'll say, a handful of occasions. Yeah, and it was quite difficult because it does kind of give you a bit of doubt, and it does knock your confidence a little bit. So for me, that was a bit of a low.
How did you deal with that? These negative comments?
So whenever I have anything that unsettles me, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's outside of Instagram, I remove myself from situations. I think, you know what, this situation is not serving me any positive purpose. I need to remove myself away from it and then deal with it. Because if I start to deal with it whilst I'm in a situation, I'm dealing with actually the person or the situation itself, then dealing with my own emotions and thoughts. Whereas if I separate the two, it allows me to have my headspace. So I'll give you an example. I got back from, I think it was not last year, 2 years ago. I got back from my anniversary holiday in Dubai. Amazing holiday, left my phone behind, got back, logged onto my laptop, and I had an email from somebody that said, Anita chats shit. Don't know if I can say that on here. Anita,
yeah, of course.
Anita chats shit @hotmail.com. Someone had actually gone out and created an email address for this. I then received, like, in the email body, it just said, you know, you're claiming to do international weddings, you're a liar, you're this. And I was like, what? Like, I've just come back from a holiday. I've never claimed to do international weddings. I would even say, like, as much as I'm a wedding planner, I just did it because I enjoy weddings. I didn't do it to make it an actual business. And it just really threw me. It kind of swallowed me into I kind of went into a black hole, because I thought, I've not actually done anything to physically hurt anybody else. So why would somebody go out their way to send me such a nasty message? So in that instance, to deal with the situation, what I did was, first of all, delete the message. Obviously, I don't want them to see that negative crap on my laptop. But then I took some time off from social media. So I do that quite often, even now. If I feel like I need the break, and it could be just because I fancy a break, or it could be because a message has unsettled me, or something has not gone quite right, I just remove myself from the situation, remove myself from any potential triggers. And I absolutely 100% avoid confrontation. I'm not going to sit there and justify myself to this random stranger about why he or she has said something about me that is incorrect. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I know what I'm about. I know that I'm a confident person. I know that I'm true to my word. I know for a fact I am not a horrible person. So for me to sit there and justify something to somebody else is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I try and avoid confrontation, and I avoid being in that environment for too long. It's not easy though. It's not something that can come overnight. I think it's about training your mind to do it. You know, something could trigger me probably next week and I might not deal with it in the best of ways, but yeah.
That's one of the crazy things about social media as well. As you said, your social media page is open to everyone across the world, and you can almost receive a message at any moment. And as you grow bigger and bigger, I know you like to think of yourself as small, but as you grow bigger and bigger, and as you're having more products and more reach to clients, followers, whatever it is, I feel that you are more prone to these kind of attacks. And it's just the nature of what social media is. Like I see, you know, the bigger influencers, let's say, as well, and some of the messages that they show that people say, and I'm thinking, how are people like this? Like, what is that? And this is why I wanted to build this platform here to say, us women should be supported. I'm not saying you've had women attack you, but it's more like women should be supporting women. Like men should be supporting women. Like we should all be supporting each other. We're all here for. Yeah, it's just almost like that's the kind of positive message that we all need to share and support each other with. Like you're doing something great, and it's almost like you're gonna have people who are hating. Let's say I'm doing the what is this?
We're both sitting there with our fingers like,
and no one can see this. The speech, air speech marks. So yeah, I feel like it is a shame that it happens, but I guess how have you built your resilience to it? So you take yourself away from it, fair, but it's almost something that will always happen.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, you're right in saying like it's always going to happen, because just me having confidence in dealing with the situation doesn't mean it's never going to happen again. But my resilience really comes from knowing how to handle the situation that works best for me, not that individual. So if I give you an example, if I at the very beginning started to become quite confrontational and it blew and it just exploded, I know that situation doesn't serve me any purpose or any benefit at all.
Yeah.
And knowing that, I choose to then do something else and go, okay, I know that arguing with this person is not going to get me anywhere. Being confrontational is not needed. Justifying myself is not needed. So actually silence is a killer. So just stay quiet. And I kid you not, Chani, honestly, if you saw some of the messages that I get, my response is thanks for the feedback, block and delete. Thanks for the feedback, block and delete. I'm not there for it. I don't need to sit there and read any of your messages. So I remove myself from the situation physically. So put my phone away. I remove myself from the situation by blocking and deleting that person. And it is not about, because I once had this. In fact, it was I'm sure it was a few months ago. I actually had somebody contact me. I think it was about my scratch cards, or it was something where they said, you know, you're copying ideas, they're not your own, you know, scratch cards were invented some time ago. And I was like, well, so were mugs, but people still personalize them. So were phones. People still continue to make phones. Anyway, it triggered me off because I was sick to my teeth of actually thinking that people think it's okay to speak in that manner and that tone, because you have got no idea what that other person's mental health is like, what state are they in. You've got no clue. And you actually think it's okay to then message this person, slate them all you want without knowing them, put them in probably a really much more difficult mental health state, And it goes back to how you were saying, all these sort of social media influencers or celebrities, people that get bombarded with cyberbullying, it shouldn't be happening. So my resilience comes from me understanding that it's not okay, and me understanding that I don't need to accept this crap. There's no level of acceptance. I can accept feedback, I can accept reviews, but when you start to tarnish me or start to give your feedback in such a personal way that you're not even allowing me to have my view on things, you're just telling me I'm shit. You're not saying, look, what about this, and this? You're not having a discussion. You're making a statement, and I don't need to agree with that. So I 100%. I feel like my resilience comes from just accepting that these things are going to happen. They're beyond my control, but I don't have to tolerate it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it just feels like it's very far off constructive feedback, and it's more just bullying and hating.
It is.
So yeah, that's probably the best approach.
I think it's crazy how often it happens as well. And I'm very fortunate. I don't get a lot of it. Like I said, I've had a handful of it, and that might be a lot to someone or not a lot to someone. But for me, it's been enough for me to understand how to tackle a situation if it happens again. And I just hope that it doesn't happen again, because it depends on where you are in your life. And I think a few months ago with COVID, obviously, I wasn't in a great place. And this person, and I did end up coming onto my own stories, which I never do when it comes to situations like this. But I just had enough. I just tried to call the person out because I've had enough. I just don't think it's okay for people to do that, because you don't know what is going on in someone else's life. So if you're going to give feedback, be constructive. Otherwise, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
That's my tip of the day, girls.
So we're still on highs and lows. Do you want to move into your highs?
So highs, I'm glad we did the lows first. Highs are, oh gosh, there's endless. I've met the most incredible people through social media. That could be people that I've never known before. Strangers have become friends. I've been able to reconnect with people that I haven't seen or spoken to for a while, like yourself.
Yes.
I've been able to have a platform that allows me to bring out my creativity in any shape or form. But the biggest thing I think so far is my massive high has been having regular clients. So clients who had wanted to purchase maybe a jewelry box, but then come back for something else for Christmas, something else for their mom, something else. That is a massive achievement. Because I absolutely love engaging with them, because we've known each other now for probably about 2 to 3 years. So the conversation's not just about orders. The conversation's just about everyday life. So that's a massive high. And the other most recent thing as well is the coaching side of things. Now, I don't like using the word coaching because I just can't find another word for it. But that has been my massive high, to be able to help other people develop their own confidence, develop that motivation to push something that they want to do on the side and make it into something. So that they're definitely highs for me. I think my list could go on, but they're the top ones.
I was going to actually touch on this coaching because you mentioned it earlier. Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell us a bit more about this coaching side and how that all started and when?
So coaching, like I said, I really don't like using that word because, I'm not accredited. I fully say that, to all of anyone that signs up to me, even before they signed up to me, I wouldn't consider myself as a business coach. I don't consider myself as a mentor. I just consider myself as somebody who started off Instagram 3 years ago, has learned the things that work, that don't work, but mainly with the thought of working full time and understanding that there's different levels of motivation, different levels of demands in your life. So you might not have the time to do what you want to do, bouncing back ideas. So I do feel like coaching sometimes isn't the right word, but until I don't think of anything else, that's what it's going to be.
Fair enough.
It all started actually with an amazing client, now friend of mine, perhaps. So there was a lady who contacted me. She's going to laugh because she's going to hear me call her lady. But there was a lady who contacted me on Instagram and said that she, had a few ideas. She liked the way that I carried myself on social media. She thought that, she wanted to kind of take a chance and ask me some questions. Would I be able to help her? And I said massively, like, I would, of course, love to help you. But something that I've learned over the last few years about myself to avoid me burning out is me having some boundaries and me having some self-respect. So I hope you don't mind, but knowing my personality, I would give you 120%. I know that. If I start answering questions, I'll be sitting there writing essays and helping you and all of that stuff. But I know that I've been shot in the foot before, so I would rather have some boundaries. So she said, of course, like you let me know what they are. So I said, look, why don't we get together? And it was pre-COVID. And I said, we can meet up at a coffee shop. I'll spend a couple of hours with you. We can go through what your ideas are, and I'll try and help you understand what worked for me and what didn't work for me. She goes, that sounds great. Let me know how much it is. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait, oh shit, I should actually think about how much this is going to cost as well, because she was, it's 2 hours of my time. And if I'm giving my time away, it has to be accounted for. And that's just life. Once upon a time, I would have definitely done this for free. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I definitely would have. But this was all about creating some boundaries for myself. So I told her of my charges. We met up. In fact, we've met up so many times. She's been to my house. We've been out to coffee shops and stuff. And we just developed that idea that was into her head to an actual Instagram platform, which is now running quite well. Wow. So, this was somebody who has never really used social media in that way, not really had the confidence to come on video, not really had confidence in her ideas. And she's doing amazing. She's doing absolutely amazing. So that kind of went from one client to then other clients hearing about it. That went to 10 clients. And then pre-COVID, I was meeting people, so I was going to coffee shops and everything. And I had those on. I didn't really advertise it on social media. I still don't.
I've never seen it. I've heard you speak about it on your stories and on this podcast, but I've never actually seen it as a service kind of mentioned on your page or anything.
I don't advertise it because, again, it was a change of direction. I didn't know what this was going to become. I have no intentions for it. There's no business strategy behind it. It was just, right, who needs the help? Because I've got the time and the knowledge to help you probably do what you want to do. Because I know that I would have loved to have someone bounce back ideas and just give me a different perspective. And I don't have that. So there was about 10 clients. And then I think it was just before lockdown, there was a massive influx of inquiries to do with coaching. What is it? And I think naturally, because I mention it every now and again, people want to know what it's about. And again, I don't advertise it because I just didn't have the time to advertise it or because I didn't know what it was going to be. So I've ended up having those 10 clients, and shockingly around, when was it? Around probably, I think, April, I went from 10 to 60.
60?
Yeah.
60 clients?
Yeah.
And that's all through word of mouth?
I think it's through word of mouth. I think it's through me just randomly putting coaching up on my stories. When it was COVID, I put up, just a bit short after lockdown, I basically put up a poll up to say, does anybody know what coaching is? Because I realized I was getting messages about what is it? And I thought, hang on, I actually probably haven't even mentioned to people what it is. So it made sense that I found out who wants to know and get in contact with them directly. So I switched it the other way, and I said to them, who sort of wants to have coaching but is a little bit skeptical about what it is or is a bit scared to take that leap. So for every yes that I got, and there was over 180, I think there was yeses, I basically messaged each individual person to find out more about what their concerns were.
Okay.
Because I know that it is a big step to take, to kind of book a stranger essentially. But I also know that sometimes having that fear is what will stop people. It will stop you from doing what you've got to do. So go, right?
Absolutely.
So 10 became 60. It was insane.
So let's go back then. So you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
You have the Pretty Parcel, which you're running part-time / 45 hours. Yeah. You have 60 clients that you're working with. I mean, what else? Have I missed something else? Is there any, you're a
I'm
wife?
going to try and hide my face.
You're running a household, you're a wife, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing everything. Your husband's doing bits and pieces. Like, what? That's mad.
I know. I think when you say it like that, it is shocking.
Wait, there's nothing else, is there? Or is that everything you're doing?
I've got to ask myself, is that everything that I'm doing? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite intense. Like when you say it like that, I think everything sounds like it's a lot, you know, but if you look at right, let's look at celebrities, right? So celebrities, they are acting, they've got a personal nutritionist, they've got a personal trainer. Depending on why they're a celeb, they've got a big team to manage. They've got a lot going on, right? But we all have the same hours in a day. That's the reality. They don't get more time than we do, but it's about how you use your time that matters. So you saying everything that you've said, everything that I do is 100% correct. But if I break that down a little bit, the full-time job is something that it physically involves myself. The Pretty Parcel, running the Instagram page, answering all the inquiries, yes, that's still me. But developing the products, I've got a manufacturer. So I don't physically have to manufacture the wooden side of stuff.
Okay.
Same thing for my luggage tag. I've got a supplier for that. I've got a manufacturer for that. So it's about managing your time and going, well, I'm going to delegate some of these things because I'm one person. I can't do it all. So even with the coaching side, I've got a family friend of mine who's like my little sister. Shout out to Mandy. But she's basically massive help because she manages all my coaching admin side of things. So all of the trackers, the dates, the payments that are pending, availability. I talk to the clients, but she manages the back end. So it sounds like it's a lot, but it's all managed behind the scenes.
Okay, but run us through your typical day then. What does it look like? The life of Anita.
The life of Anita.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So a typical day, Monday to Friday, is mainly just work. So it is literally me making sure that I can have at least 8 hours of sleep at night. I have to have more than 8 hours.
So when do you tend to go to sleep?
I go to sleep around, well, my husband will probably argue this, but much at night. Don't know where he gets that from. But I go to bed around 10.
Okay.
10, half 10. I don't think I fall asleep that quickly though. I tend to get up, since working from home, I probably get up about 7:30, but I've started to last week get up at 6:30 because I kind of want to just get up a little bit earlier so I feel more tired in the evening because I was having sleep problems.
Okay.
I get up, I have breakfast, I have a shower, do my usual morning routine, log on to work. I actually have 2 mobile phones. So I've got one for my personal life and then I've got one for the Pretty Parcel. So that phone, literally, it allows for separation. So what I do is I keep that phone aside. So during the week, Monday to Friday, I only access this phone mainly around lunchtime. I won't look at this during my work hours at all. So that's probably my Monday to Friday. So yeah, I do that, have a lunch, might go on my phone, might not go on my phone, because remember, I'm only trying to spend Wednesdays on it. And then in the evenings, just wind down. I tend to do most of my cooking on a Sunday. So I do sort of food prep on a Sunday, unless I'm really craving something different on the day. But I do most of my food prep on a Sunday, so I don't have to cook during the week.
And does your husband do some cooking as well?
Oh my God. Hell no. Oh. if you cook up beans on toast cooking, Channy. No.
You need to get teaching.
Yeah, I think most recently when we had lockdown, we had more time on our hands, so we started to cook together. And he makes the most amazing pasta. Okay. So he started to cook recently, but we manage in a way where he helps me on a Sunday do all the food prep. So he does all the cutting and everything, and I just basically make the food. So yeah, that would be like a typical Monday to Friday, really. And then in the weekends, it's primarily all about coaching. So I do 2 coaching sessions on Saturdays, with a gap in between. But all of this boils down to how effective you use your time. That's all it is. Is that trying to ask yourself, what is the most important thing to you? Is it your health? Is it family time? Is it your children? What do you kind of take as your top priority, and making sure that they have space in your life? Everything else will follow naturally. So
yeah, I agree with that. It's almost understanding what are your priorities and making sure they're ticked off. Because I do find that if I don't tick off, for example, quality time with my fiance, which is a priority to me, or doing something which I'm passionate about, or reading, which is also a priority to me, then my day just doesn't feel the same. I almost feel like I haven't been as productive, or I'm missing something. So for me, it is little things that I definitely need to tick off. So I do get that.
I think a lot of people feel like they have to do everything in a day, and you don't, because tomorrow will come, like Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, but tomorrow will also come if it wants to come. So it just separate things that really need to be done versus what can wait, because nothing is that urgent in life, you know, other than your health and your well-being. I always try and make sure that I have good food, good nutrition, enough sleep where I can. My key thing is quality of life. That's what I want, a really good quality of life. That doesn't mean having luxury items. That doesn't mean having the best of the foods all the time. I just want good quality life for everything that I have, basically.
I love that. I love it.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I think everyone wants that. So I have a question, which this is more for me to help me out. Okay. So I've been following you on Instagram. I've seen your stories. I've seen what you're like on social media. And every time you're on, you are just confident and you come across really well. And I love that you are so real. Like I said, there's no filters involved. It's not like, you know, it's just yourself. You're real. You talk as you would. You show us who you are and what you're about. Mm-hmm. And I want to know more about, how do you get the confidence to do that? Because even for me, going on my social media, so for Fearless Females, for example, I'm still struggling to be like, oh, I'm going to do a story and talk. And I'm just like, I don't know how to begin. My fiance wants to do a podcast where he's asking me questions so I can share my story. And I am dreading it. I'm just like, oh, I have to build myself up to be like, oh my God, I can do it. But I'm really nervous. So where did that confidence come from? And how do you actually build that?
So a lot of people, I think, I do get this question quite often. And I had it recently this week with someone that I met up with. And confidence is I think when it comes to stories, the first thing that people need to do, or anything Instagram or social media related, is cut off the fact that people are watching you. Because what you're concerned about then is all of these people's opinions. And the reality is that they are strangers. You know, so they're lovely. These people, as much as I said that my lows was, you get the one odd few that aren't, most of these people are absolutely supportive. Most of those people totally understand that you've come on facing your fears, and it's not easy to do public speaking. But a few of the, probably I would say, practical tips, that like techniques that you can use. I don't know, are you a visual person?
I guess I am, yeah.
Yeah. So what you kind of probably at the very beginning, you need to ask yourself and say, what's my intention for going on stories? Is it because I want to update someone about my day? Is it because I want to tell them about Fearless Females? Do I want to tell them about a particular podcast? So ask yourself, what's the topic of conversation that you want to bring to the stories? Then on a piece of paper, try and just draw or put some words, right? Any words that reach out to you, that scream out to you, that will help. So you might say the word definition, because you might want to say, you know, the definition of Fearless Females is ... Mm-hmm. Or you might want to talk about a particular podcast that you had. So you can put that person's name on a piece of paper, because what happens is we get stage fright. So as soon as we get onto social media, we get stories, we're like, what did we come on here for? I've totally forgotten. Whereas if you've got some words on the side that allow you to engage your brain a little bit, and they're just pointers. And I understand that when you're on camera, it might be that you end up looking at this piece of paper, but there's natural ways that you can make out as if you're not looking at it, right? So I know people can't see me right now, but if I did that, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I know people can't see me now, but I did a bit of an eye roll because I had a look at something. And I started off doing that because that was me kind of overcoming the stage fright. Then what I did was, over time, I kind of nurtured my brain and trained my brain to be like, well, actually, what I'm about to say, these people will not know whether what I'm saying is what I intended to say. So I can say what I want, right?
That's true, yeah.
Because they don't know. They don't know that you intended to come on and talk about Fearless Females, or you can navigate that conversation how you want. You can end up talking about Fearless Females right the way through to what you're doing in the evening or kind of dinner you're having, right? Because the reality, nobody knows what your intentions were for coming on.
Yeah.
Another practical technique is, when you're looking in the camera, do one or two of the things. So either actually look at yourself and don't look around yourself, look at your eyes and talk to yourself. So it's almost like looking in the mirror and going, okay, I'm going to talk to you today. I'm talking to myself. This is really weird, but I'm going to talk to you. But people often, when they come on camera, they start to focus on things like, oh my God, there's that thing in the background. Oh my God, my hair's not right. Oh my God, this isn't sitting right. Gosh, the lighting's crap. They focus on all the things that actually won't matter. What's going to go through to your followers is going to be the sound and the confidence of your voice, nothing else. They're not going to care what's in your background. They're not going to care that your hair's out of place. So, and if they do, they're not the kind of people that you want on your platform, because that's not what you are about.
Very true.
So yeah, those are the kind of tips that I've got. I think it comes with practice though. So if you can find a situation where you can try and overcome your fears, just like you said, like with your fiance interviewing you, I think that is a massive opportunity and a great place to start.
Yeah, just got to build some confidence about it.
It'd be amazing. And you're really well spoken, Chani. I feel like a lot of people.
Thank you.
You are. I feel like people don't really give themselves enough credit. And coming onto social media, like coming onto stories now for me is just as easy as getting up and brushing my teeth. I don't think about it.
You can tell you're a natural.
Oh, I think it comes with practice. I hope, hopefully, those sort of techniques can help you.
You know what? You're making me. You're giving me some inspiration here, and it's making me want to post a story.
Do it.
I was going to say today, but like this week, I'm going to give myself some time about this podcast. So instead of just sharing it on a post, I'll probably get behind the camera and do a little short video. Now my intentions are shown as well.
I'm rooting for you. I'll be there, clapping away.
Great.
Yeah, it's a confidence builder, and it is about being confident in what you're speaking about. If you start talking, if it's like me, if I start talking about how a car is engineered right now, I would have zero clue. I'll be trying to talk about something that I don't know. And it's almost like, when people think about presentations, you should only give a presentation on something that you're really confident about speaking about. And I realized that, I had my interview for the PM job, and I was like, I'm only going to answer the questions that I know, because answering anything else is not going to be beneficial to me or them, because I'm going to try and fluff it up. They're going to recognize that as I'm trying to overcome certain questions, when actually honesty is the key thing. So I'll come onto sometimes stories and be like, right, I don't know about this, but I'm going to give you my opinion, because that's all I can give, just my voice and my opinion.
Love it. There's some really good tips. Thank you.
No worries.
Making me get on stories.
Good. I want to see it. I'm going to be waiting every day now.
Oh gosh, the pressure is on. What have I done to myself? So then tell us, Anita, what's next for you?
What is next for Anita? I said to you that I'm not a life planner, and that's the reality, Chani. Like, I don't really envision what 2021 is going to be. And to be fair, I don't really want to plan for 2021 because of COVID. But I see, what I see next for me is hopefully launching my home range, which I've been saying for a while, but I'm going to hold off probably until the new year. I'm probably going to be working more on the coaching side of things. So I really want to give the coaching clients that I've got now, I want to give them more than I'm giving, So I've thought about guest speakers, I've thought about group sessions, I've thought about manuals. I've got everything in my head. It just needs to be put down on a piece of paper.
That entrepreneur side is coming out, isn't it?
Coming out. You remember when I said, like, my head is full of all these ideas? There you go. So yeah, I think really what's next is one thing that I am really keen on doing, and I'm going to say it here so that I'm accountable, is I need to do more charity work. Like, next year has to be about giving back, because since probably getting married, moving here, getting thrown into like a job, then getting a promotion, then getting another, I had 2 promotions this year. I feel like I'm in a very good position right now, and I don't want to take liberty of that. So I was speaking to my husband actually yesterday at dinner, and I said to him, what needs to be next for me is actually thinking about how I can give back to the community. So I'm kind of scoping out what charity I want to do, because I want it to be kind of close to my heart if possible. So I'm going to scope out for that. So yeah, I would say coaching, charity, getting to my goal of having a good quality of life. That's what's next.
I love that. I'll be keeping an eye out for your home range, which is due to launch beginning of next year-ish.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, I'll be keeping an eye out, because I'd love to have some more bits and bobs for the flat. So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out on that. And the coaching sounds great. So if there's more stuff you want to advertise on that, I'll be keeping an eye out for that as well. But yeah, and it's been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast and sharing your experiences. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, and I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Females Voice podcast.
Be sure to join our Facebook group called Fearless Females and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye for now.